So the lawyer of the accused Kenosha shooter resigns from defense fund. And let me tell you, this lawyer received a lot of support from conservative supporters, 700,000 to be exact. And so this is the shooter, and he's basically shooting at protesters. And so this kid comes from out of nowhere, and he's shooting at protesters. So this was August 25th, 2020, a file photo. So this is Kyle Rittenhouse at left, and with a backwards cap, and he's walking. And I'm sure a lot of people that are aware of this know what this is, but it looks like he's carrying a pretty deadly weapon there. And they're not apprehending him. They're not arresting him and throwing him to the ground. They're not rousting him, and they're not shooting him like they do black people. When they even see you holding a cell phone that looked like a gun. Okay, we've heard those before. So he walks along Sheridan Road in Kenosha, in Wisconsin, with another armed civilian. Okay, both of them. See, they're armed civilians, and they're allowed to carry these weapons, and the police is not stopping them. Okay, and so a lawyer representing the 17-year-old charged with the shooting of 3 people during the protest in Kenosha, Wisconsin, has resigned from his position with a defense fund that has been ranked in more than 700,000 to defend his client and the conservative causes. So attorney John Pierce is defending Kyle Rittenhouse against international homicide charges for the shooting deaths of 2 people, shooting them to death and wounding the third during the night of an unrest last month over the police shooting of Jacob Blake. So he was a black man who was left paralyzed from the waist down. So Pierce said that he had resigned from the hashtag Fightback Foundation Fund, which has raised money to defend Rittenhouse to avoid any appearance of conflict, USA Today reported. So this is not an opinion piece. This is out of the news. So I just want to make that clear. So this is not my words. This is what happened. So Pierce and his firm, Pierce, Bainbridge, Beck, Price, and Hedge, have been accused of defaulting on millions of dollars owed to investors, according to the courthouse documents. So Pierce acknowledged in New York court documents earlier this year that he had failed to pay Karish Capital $4 million for cash advances that it had made to Pierce's firm, which also has a much large payment of $65 million looming for another investor. And the newspaper reported this. Pierce and Lynn Wood, another attorney who has taken up the high-profile case, championing the conservatives, which would started the fund earlier in August. So the fund is described as a way of bringing the lawsuit to check the lies of the left. Pretty much trying to, check the lies of the left, as they say. They think the leftists are the liars, which, there's a lot of liars, and it doesn't matter which side you're on, there's a lot of different people that lie. But Pierce has argued that Rittenhouse acted in self-defense, is what they're trying to fight his cause for, when he shot the 3 people August 25th during the night of unrest protests over the shooting of Jacob Blake 2 days earlier, which has been captured on cell phone video and posted online. It's pretty much nationwide. So the Rittenhouse case has become a political flashpoint. During his Tuesday visit to Kenosha, Wisconsin, President Donald Trump gave an account at odds with the one given by the prosecutors, falsely implying that the teenager only shot the men after he tripped and they attacked him. So I don't know if you guys saw that interview that Trump had when a reporter had asked and questioned him about that shooting. And Trump, it was as if he was basically supporting the kid that shot these people. You know, pretty much he acted as if he wanted to excuse this kid for what he did. And we know what this, some of us know what this is all about, but Wood, who now controls the federal foundation, said that Pierce would be reimbursed for his work defending Rittenhouse. So they're making all these alternatives for this 17-year-old that did this killing. And so you see him and you see someone else, and they call themselves armed civilians. And so he's basically playing cop. And so some of you already know the story. But this right here, you would have, suppose these were two black men with guns like this. Would they have supported them, and would Trump have defended them like that? I'm just asking the question. I'm posing the question. What do you think he would have done? You know, in the case of this, I just feel like he wouldn't have supported it if it had been a different group of folks doing this, carrying guns. They would have been shot on sight if they had saw them coming with guns like that. They wouldn't even been allowed to get through the crowd like that. So, excuse me for clearing my throat. So, and I'll say this, I'm not afraid to say this. Recently, I took a flu shot. I know some people are against getting shots and stuff. So I believe when they give you these shots, they give you a bit of the bug or whatever. So, you know, the different strains that are coming out, you know, you hear all this talk. Now the shots are free, but you hear all this talk about, um, you know, every year there's a different strain of flu, and that, you know, it might help you to be able to fight off if you do come in contact with somebody who's infected with coronavirus. But I wear a mask. I'll be honest to say, when I go out, I wear a mask because I'm not trying to catch anything. Trust me, you know. But ever since I had that flu shot, which was very recent, it was like only a day or two ago. You know, it doesn't hurt or anything. It's just like a little, you know, like you know. But anyway, so I just feel like this right here is just a sign of the times. You know, a sign of what's happening, and you know, there's a lot of different opinions, a lot of different beliefs, but it's turned pretty violent, and it's what I was basically telling you was going to happen. And I feel like the reason why this climate is violent the way it is because people do not feel that their needs have been met, and they feel that they've been wronged. And they, as in people who have been marginalized, people who are poor, people who are struggling. We're living in a time of a pandemic, and from what I've read, um, that this is really just based on this pandemic. It's a human thing. It was inevitable because now this part. Let me disclaimer. Let me say that this part is, in my opinion, I believe in climate change, and I believe that because over a period of years, a period of decades, people have not been kind to the planet. You know, we have a lot of pollution in the oceans. We have a lot of people that are cutting down the forestry and that have, you know, exploited animals. They've hunted animals for consumption, and those animals have, you know, they have diseases. And you know, some people live in poor countries where if they have no other means to support themselves is to do the hunter-gatherer thing where they take these wild animals and sell them in wet markets. And then you also have people who just eat these animals for consumption because that's what they have at their disposal at the time. And then, you know, it is inevitable to, you know, come across, you know, a territory that animals inhabit and, you know, impede on their habitat. You know, a lot of building, a lot of the houses are in the mountain areas. You hear people complaining about they've seen a fox, they've seen a bear, and that the bear is in their backyard and it's destroying things. No, actually, you're destroying their place of origin. This is where they live, and you built on their land, and you pretty much encroached on the habitats of these animals. And so with all of this going on, and then the destruction of the planet, people throwing trash everywhere, littering, putting pharmaceutical medicine, flushing it down the toilet and the drains. It goes in straight to the ocean, to the fish. What do? You eat those fish. You're gonna have disease, and it's bound to, you have this whole population of people, and eventually, and then you have a lot of people that are in poverty and they're not getting their needs met, and you have this encroachment of all these people, and then these sicknesses that come up, that you don't have enough vaccine to cure everybody. So what are you going to have? A pandemic. And so this is strictly my opinion, so I just want to just let you know that this was going to happen. I don't think COVID-19 is the only pandemic that we're going to be faced with. I think there are going to be other diseases and other things that are going to be out there. Do you know how many diseases that animals just naturally carry? There's so many. I believe I was reading 17,000 different types of diseases. If I was, correct me if I'm wrong, I would have to look that up, but I was reading about that, and it's inevitable that we're going to have these incidences happening. So what I'm saying is we're entering into this pandemic era. And so I was looking at this earlier, how we cut the trees and how we, don't take care of, actually I was wrong, not 17,000, 1.7 million viruses exist in mammals and birds, and origins of most pandemics. Okay, so I had to look at that. I said 17 million because I was still in my head. I seen the 1 and the 7, but it's 1.7 million, so it's a whole lot more than what I said. So I'm correcting myself there. But you can read this if you want to. I'll leave it in there, but it says we are entering into the era of pandemics, and I believe that is true. And so this COVID-19 is not the only thing that we're going to be faced with. As a matter of fact, if you hadn't been looking, they even said that there was something that they hadn't seen in many, many years called the plague, and it looks like a flea, but it's called the plague. That has cropped up. Ebola, things that you hadn't heard of that you thought were at bay or they had it in control are all of a sudden coming back in full force. And so just get ready, because we're going to have to be wearing masks for quite some time. I don't believe things will ever be back to normal, and even the World Health Organization had said that, because you have people constantly with all these different ideologies and different opinions. You have people with their egos, these groups, these splinter groups, people who refuse to wear masks, people who wear masks, and people who fight people who have a mask on, and people who are at odds with each other. And if it isn't the diseases that can kill you and some of the natural disasters, it's people that are on earth that can't get along with each other that is a threat. And so having said that, I'm going to let this video go, but this is what's happening in the world today, and I don't believe it's going to end, because as long as you have people that feel that they have to play cop and come out like this, then you're going to have more uprisings, and you're going to have people that are from the other side that are going to come out, and they're going to organize. And there's no going back. When you start this, people are going to get tired of it, and they're going to eventually they're going to fight back. And so that's what you're asking for. You're putting that in the minds of people who, they may be a loose cannon as well. They may be able to control it a little better. But the more you keep having these kind of guys like this come out and do what you see here, then just be ready, because there are other people that are on the opposite side. So, having said that, I'm going to let this video go. Thanks for listening.